All right, good morning, brothers and sisters. We're going to finish off chapter 13. And what we see here is just, again, Lord, give me the right words, the fruit of sexual sin, the destruction that it causes, you know what I mean, out of doing things out of God's will, out of God's will. Now, what happens here is that, at this point now, as the king's sons had already fled in fear because Absalom had killed Amnon. Now, mind you, Amnon was David's firstborn. Absalom was David's third son. And Amnon had rights as a firstborn, and again he had abused his authority and manipulated his way, and yeah. So at this point now, we see that the king's sons had fled once they saw Absalom's servants kill Amnon. Gosh, these names, forgive me. It's 5 a.m. All right. And as they fled, Shimei, which is the son of Shimei, David's nephew, yeah, I think it was David's nephew, his brother's son. Yeah, he fled and met David first and told him, that, hey, some of the servants got there before Shimei did, and said, hey, man, all your sons were killed. And so at this point, when David thought that all his sons were killed, David tore his robe and lay flat on his face, and all his servants did the same. But Shimei, his nephew, came and said, hey, man, don't trip. Your sons got away. Absalom made sure that Amnon got killed. Now, it's interesting right here in this portion because when David thought all his sons died, he ripped his clothes off, fell flat on his face, and just stood there. Okay. But when he found out the truth, it says that he wept bitterly for Amnon's death. David's response and reaction to Amnon being killed, he wept bitterly. Why? Because it was David's duty as the leader to execute any type of judgment and to remove wickedness. That's how David started. David grew stronger and stronger by removing wickedness from his home. But as he became stronger in the kingdom and more sons, you can see where he kind of relaxed on the rules. When he relaxed on the rules, he ended up going with Bathsheba. As an authoritarian, when you relax from discipline, it trickles down to your kids. Children are a reflection of the parents. If a child does not respect the parent, it's not the other parent's fault, even though the other parent does wrong. The children respect those who are respectable. If a person walks in respect, children will respect them. You see? If a parent walks in respect, the children will respect them. If a parent walks in the fear of God, the children walk in the fear of God. But you cannot manipulate people to do what you want to do, or intimidate them, or dominate them. David wept bitterly because he knew that that was his duty to remove that sin and his son from that situation or that kingdom. But Absalom, it shows here, when Absalom got up, Absalom took off to the king of Geshur and stood there for 3 years. And it says here that David mourned for his son every day. David mourned the one that killed his other son. Think about that. When David first had the kingdom, he would sit there and execute justice right there and then. He would remove wickedness and evil. He would take up the sword and stab people. David relaxed on that. Absalom's heart to do the same. Absalom did David's job. Therefore, David mourned, wept for one son, because it shouldn't have happened. If David never lay with Bathsheba, the sexual sin wouldn't have happened. That spirit wouldn't have hovered around. Number one. Number two, if they would have executed judgment, maybe Absalom would have maybe he would have repented. But David didn't do anything about it. So the next in line, the third son, was the one who I believe was more like David. It shows that Absalom was a beautiful man. You know what I'm saying? Like David, a beautiful man, long hair, good looking dude. People recognized his wisdom at the gates. When he would speak, they wanted to follow him. And I believe that David right here just saw himself in his son. Therefore, he mourned because his son had the huevos, the cojones, the testicular fortitude, to step up and do what his father didn't do and execute righteousness. Therefore, David mourned because one son went up against another son. When David got the kingdom, it was kin against kin. And now we got kin against kin again because judgment was not executed. And here's what gets me is that David mourned for the one that killed his other son. He loved Absalom. He mourned for Absalom, but he wept for Amnon. He wept for the rapist, but he mourned for the one that executed judgment. Absalom should have never have killed his brother, but because the fact that his father did not step up and do his job, Absalom stepped up. I'm seeing here that there was a lack of spiritual leadership. Even though David was anointed, he was no longer walking in the spirit, but walking in the realm of the kingdom. Not walking in the spirit of God, but walking in the spirit of man. You know, and you see David does a lot of all the time. We're human. We do that. You do that. I do that every day. I'm coming out of a season of drunkenness as these people have reached out to me and kind of they gave me a solid word of God, and it really woke me up. Like, whoa, that is me. I am that guy. I didn't realize that. You know, I was trying to take the kingdom of heaven, you know, but by violence. But there's a way I should be walking as I teach the word. There's a way I should be walking as a man who shares the word. And I have not. And it's really convicting. But I thank you all for listening, you know, because I said I'm not a pastor, I'm not a preacher. I'll just share what I know, you know, and it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? So as I read this, as we end this chapter, it really ministers to me and shows me that if I don't step up as a man, as a spiritual leader, and do what I'm called to do, my family, which is already fallen apart because of me, is going to continue to fall apart down to my grandkids. And I don't like that. That upsets me. You know, I'm pretty upset. You know, and this weekend I'll be taking off to down by Des Moines to sit with some other brothers in a study of men, and they're gonna lay hands on me. They're not gonna throw down. not that kind of laying hands, but they're gonna pray over me and anoint me with oil. And God willing, I'll come back a renewed man and fight for the kingdom of heaven. Brothers and sisters, I love you. Much love to all. We made it to Friday. May you have a blessed, spirit-filled weekend. If God gives me a nugget worth sharing with you, because sometimes I got to keep my own nuggets, you know. Nuggets, sorry. If he gives me something good to share, I'll share with you. Hey, much love to you all. Peace be with you. Remember, choose wisdom over the world. God bless.